Do. We are back in the saddle again. You're live. We're live. We are live, they tell us.
We're live.
We are alive. And you know what's even funnier?
That's crazy.
Is it's both my good friend Brian Baker and myself back in the saddle again.
We're alive.
There we are.
You can hear the enthusiasm in my voice, right?
Hey, who do we got here? We got Ben Brady. Hello, sir. Jim's Garage. Here we go. Yes, I want to apologize to all of those that were expecting a 5 o'clock show. I'm sorry. I was on drugs last week when I made the event for tonight's live stream. Yes, I was on drugs because my hand was still really messed up. But yesterday I got the pin out, so there's no more pin in my hand. And now there's just a hole there where the pin was, and I have to work on getting my grip strength back. So, but we'll do that. No more doing stupid stuff at 54 years old, right, Brian?
Well, I got a few more years, so...
Okay, so you can do all the stupid stuff for me. How's that?
That's the plan.
Okay, that works out for me. Who do we got here? We got Ronnie Julian. Hello, sir. Ken Jansen, Jim's Garage, David Clark, RT. Good evening, sir. We've got David Sell. Julie Pierce is here. Hello. Glad to see everybody is here this evening. I had a fantastic day. We're going to talk about that tonight as well. We're going to talk about us missing episodes over the last month. We got Rex Waldy. Who else we got there? We got Jake from State Farm, Raymond Emsley. I got to tell you, Raymond Emsley is a joy to have around over at Spool 3D. Raymond Emsley was brought on board this week? Yes, this week.
Yeah, I guess it would have been this week.
Yeah, it was this week. He was brought on board to help us out, and he's doing a fantastic job. And so we got to give him thumbs up. Everybody give Raymond Emsley a thumbs up. It is Star Wars Day. Happy May the 4th be with you.
How could I forget about Star Wars Day? I don't know what's wrong with me.
I don't know what's wrong with you either, man.
Oh, I know exactly what's wrong with me. I just got back from a 2-week trip, and now I'm trying to find out which Marvel movies I've missed so I can go see Endgame tomorrow and be done with it.
Okay, so if anybody has seen Endgame, do not give him any spoilers because I've seen it and
Please
I just want to spoil the whole movie for him, but I'm not going to. Hey, there's John Kitchen, Alexander Nagel. I think I got them. Yes. One Raz. What's up tonight? We have got a lot of stuff on our plate tonight. We're going to talk about that.
Yes, we do.
We do. We got a couple minutes here before we run our intro. I'm using the
Stream we're actually
deck.
Early.
Yeah, well, I'm using the Stream Deck tonight. I got it all fancied up.
And I'm using my new shiny camera that I bought like a day before I left. So now I can be like here and just be like, focus in. Don't focus in.
Focus.
So maybe we'll actually get some macro views. I don't know.
Maybe
it's nothing fancy. I just got lucky.
Last week I wanted to do an episode, but we got snow. Like it just came down in bucket loads. And it knocked out our power here a little bit. It knocked out our internet. So we unfortunately were unable to do a live stream last week. So we apologize for that. But, you know, some things just can't be helped. Ben Brady says he's using his new Ender 5. Mike is asking how my hand is. Mike, my hand is doing much better. You can see I don't have any splints on it today. No pins in it anymore. It's doing really well. I just have to regain my strength. David Clark's asking me, did you have your Ender 3 club today? We had a build and learn at SATE today, and we're going to talk about that after we run the intro. And guess what? It's 7 o'clock. Let's run that intro. And we are back. Yes, let's talk about our build and learn that the first layer and Spool 3D teamed up to do. We had 9 students. We put a picture of all of the students up on our Facebook page today. And we had a great time. In the morning we built, in the afternoon we learned about Cura 4.0. And I've got a video coming out in the next few weeks on Cura 4.0. We're going to show you how to do a temperature tower in Cura 4.0 as well, and I want everybody to learn how to do that. Hey guys, there's Chris Galata. I hope I'm saying that right. I suspect my clog is actually oozing because the bearing on my fans are going, since 2 days worth of clog cleaning doesn't seem to help. So Julie Pierce, you're having a problem with your fans? Probably that's what's happening. DePark88, hello sir. Jim's Garage, would I set for 7 hours in front here? I'm missing something. I am missing something.
I think, yeah, no, he's 7 hours ahead of us because David Clark is in the UK.
Ah, right. Jake from State Farm says, focus you, fac. I'm not sure. Who's out of focus? Am I out of focus? I think I'm
No,
focused.
no, mine might be fighting. I don't know. We'll see here.
It might be.
It should be all automatic, but hello to all 33 of you watching right now, and
Yes.
I'm sure that number's going to grow with the. I feel much more welcome when Richard's here. So
Thanks, man.
I see my numbers sign on. They see, oh no, Richard.
Oh, come on. They don't go down that fast.
No. Usually it's after I don't roll an intro.
I see. Okay. So today we had our build and learn at SATE. Brian couldn't be there with us today, but Derek from spool3d.ca was there, and we had 9 students. And I got to tell you, I really enjoyed teaching this class. We built the Ender 3 Pro. Everybody got an extra roll of filament. Everybody got an extra special little SD card that I put some very unique information on and some upgrade parts that they could use for the Ender 3. So maybe what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover that in a video later on. What do you think, Brian?
It sounds like a plan to me. It sounds like it was a good experience there. You know, I would have made it, but I flew in too late last night, so I needed a day.
Yeah. Raymond says, Brian, your volume's just a little higher than mine. That's okay.
We're all balanced in the end.
Rex Waldy says, my physio is going to be fun. Rex, you know, the funny thing about that is I thought you said psycho. I still can't see straight, obviously.
Yeah, that wasn't caused by
the going to be fun. Jim says he sees us fine. Okay, there we go. Hey, there's Saul S. Welcome, sir. So at the Build and Learn today, it was a lot of fun because we built that Ender 3 Pro and we built it from the ground up. Everybody followed along. Everybody did really well. We leveled the bed, and then I gave them, on the special little SD card that we included with their printer today, a test cube that I cut using Cura 4.0 here at home, and they got to print it out while they were at lunch. All of them finished just before everybody came back for lunch, and they all looked great. So I have a lot of confidence in the students that were with me today at SATE. If you're here in the chat, say hello. And then in the afternoon, we dived right into Cura 4.0. And I got to tell you, man, I learned a little bit more about Cura 4.0 on the fly. So, yeah, it was, there's some cool little things in there. We're going to talk about that on an upcoming episode where we dive deep into 4.0. And the reason that I'm looking at 4.0 instead of looking at Repetier and looking at some of the others is because Cura comes with 85 to 90% of the printers that are sold in the market today, whether they be your entry level or your mid-level printers, usually going to get a copy of Cura. So I got to
And
say
it's the
that was,
community standard.
yeah, it is the community standard, and I got to use it more so I can learn more about it, and then impart that onto you guys. But yeah, the class was a lot of fun. I think we're going to hold another one in probably June or July. And in August, is it August or October that we've got Earth coming up? October, right?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm
I think
gonna look
Earth
into that
is in
right now.
October. That is the
October.
East
Yeah.
Coast Rep Rap Festival, and that happens in Bel Air, Maryland.
Maryland. Yep.
Brian and I and Derek are trying to arrange it so that we get there, have a table and a little booth for all of our friends in the States that may be going, and some of our friends in Canada that may be going to Earth this year. Really, really had a good time. David Harmon, you can make custom JSONs for printers in Cura as well, which makes it awesome. Yes, you can. It's a little bit over the scope of tonight's, BS session, for lack of a better word. But yeah, we are going to get into that and talk a little bit more about that as we go forward. We're gonna create some new stuff. Paul Cumber, how's it going? It's going good. I've installed the Cree Awesome add-on, and it's working great. Ben Brady says that's very.
I've heard
very
a lot
cool.
about that.
I've
Yeah,
not heard
it's a neat
anything.
little add-on. Everything I've seen posted on the Facebook group says it somehow improves Cura's quality for Creality printers. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll
I'll have to check that
I'll
out
look and see.
because I've got
I'll
3
dump it in there for
Creality
my Note
printers
3
right
Pro.
back here that we can check out. Hey, Luke Garot says Maker Faire Ottawa. Well, we haven't been invited to Maker Faire Ottawa, and we don't know what's happening with Maker Faire Calgary. I'm hoping that is going to get up and running pretty soon because we'd like to
Yeah,
attend Maker Faire again this year.
we've
Mark
already
Hart?
lost 1 year, so
Yeah, we're down 1 year on Maker Faire in Calgary, and I'm really hoping that the organizers come together and are able to do a Maker Faire here in Calgary this year. That would be really, really good. Now, what else did I want to talk about? Oh, Brian, you've got some stuff to talk about. Let's talk about that.
yeah. So my business trip to Toronto for 2 weeks wasn't a complete waste because I managed to bug the poor folks at filaments.ca for a grand total of 40 minutes. Turns out right as they opened, so they hadn't even had their coffee yet. But I went in the store and I picked up some of their Canadian manufactured filament here.
Interesting.
So I'm looking forward to reviewing this in the near future. They make it in-house. They are still spinning up the recipes properly, but they are going the Joseph Prusa method. And on this one, I have a batch code number here, so we can look it up, and he can tell me the tolerance across that job that Ron is stating is plus or minus 0.02 millimeters.
Now, this is Ron from filaments.ca, right?
Yes, not to be confirmed with Ron from Canadian Maker Project. There's just too many Rons in Toronto, okay? So we got that. I also, ogling at their counter, they have a new batch from Forum Futura. That's their Galaxy series.
Oh.
That's a speckled color. And I don't know how well it's going to show up in the light here, but inside the filament is little specks of, I think he said it was aluminum, that doesn't scratch up your brass nozzle, but it creates a marbleized effect basically as it prints,
that's cool.
just with little speckles. And I wish I had taken more photos of the little figures there, but it was enough to sell me on this. And finally, because they're just awesome people, they gave us some samples for an upcoming episode here on nozzle cleaning filament.
And you know, that's something we've never tackled on the show is nozzle cleaning filament. So we're going to give it a try in an upcoming episode, and we're going to let you guys know what we like, what we don't like about it, if it works, if it doesn't work, and we might have some to give away, right?
Absolutely. I got a few. So We'll see.
There we go.
See how many we burn through on our test runs.
That's right. Maybe we'll have something to give away. Let's take a look at what's going on here in the chat. 3D Printing PA. Hello. Got no notification you were live. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Damn you, YouTube. Paul Cumber. Anything on the MP fully enclosed dual extruded 3D printer from Monoprice? I have not looked into it. I don't know if you have, Brian. I really don't keep up with Monoprice too much.
No.
Pretty much concentrate on what we've got going on at Spool 3D. So that would be Creality, Wanhao, and Anycubic, our three main lines. So those are the ones I'm kind of keeping up on.
The Monoprice stuff, it's not very common here in Canada. So when you take into account the cross-border fees and all that, it's actually not that great in value to warrant, even reviewing one. So unless they want to, if they want to send us up one, or, if MacLeod, who's the backing company for at least the Mini, wants to send us one, we'll do a review. But we're not carrying them up here in Canada outside of Amazon. Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen there. And what else we got here? Hey there, Spartan Props. Hey, boys. Stephen Snow, my bed heat shut itself off again. Ruined a 7-hour print. The edges of the print curled. Any ideas from anyone? That's odd why that did that. We upgraded the firmware on Stephen's CR10S Pro with the latest edition from Creality, and I'm not sure what's going on there, why your bed is suffering so much. What do you think, Brian? What do you think might be the problem there?
The question is, which direction did it shut itself off, right? I mean, the MOSFET could be failing.
That's true.
If the FET overheats there, it might shut itself off. When it starts curling, that sounds to me like it's overheating the bed. So I'm hoping it's not thermal runaway upwards.
It shouldn't be, but because I was sure that it was the thermal runaway was enabled. And that has a relay. It doesn't have a MOSFET in it.
Right. So it could be a failing MOSFET. The question is, Stephen, did it actually thermal run away and shut down the print job, or did the print job keep going? Hey, we got Scott Latine in the house there. How's it going, bud? I'm not allowed to call myself the Marlin Wizard when he's around.
Oh, okay. Hi, Scott. Scott's the Marlin Wizard, right?
Yes. He's the Marlin Master.
Yeah, David Harmon's got a good suggestion. Is the thermistor attached firmly? Even if the thermistor wasn't attached firmly, what could be happening is if it wasn't attached firmly, you would get a thermal runaway and it would shut down the print. So it's probably not the thermistor. What I'm going to probably diagnose here just off the top of my head is it may be a bad relay. And if so, well, it's it's covered under the electronics, so just a matter of replacing that relay. Eco mode turned on. It kept going, eh? Oh, that could be eco mode. If eco mode's turned on, it could be shutting off the bed as well. I've seen that be a problem.
Actually, I would also check your G-code files. I mean, I can't guarantee it changed across the firmware change there. That sounds like, because if it's not thermal runaway and your printer is cooling down, that sounds to me like the G-code, it was instructed to cool down.
That shouldn't be happening because he's running Cura, and I've seen the file, so it doesn't say anything in the G-code file of his prints. So I have to either think that it's the relay, or it's not the thermistor. I would bet dollars to donuts that it's not the thermistor.
Yeah,
and eco mode might be turned on. If eco mode is turned on, that could be causing a problem too, because it's going into a state where it says, okay, I've got too much power. Let's turn something down. So let's turn off eco mode if it's turned on. Paul Cumber, how is the Ender 5 3D printer easy to build? It is very easy to build, but not my favorite printer from Creality. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, it's the fact that when I saw that thing come out, I'm like, oh, a Core XY offering. That's kind of cool. And then I saw it. It's like, oh, not a Core XY offering, but
Yeah, it's definitely a
so,
Cartesian machine.
and it took up a lot more space given that. Honestly, if that was dropped before the Ender 3, I think it would have sold well, but I think the Ender 3 still is a much superior printer.
I agree. They both have the same insides technically. They both use the same
Mm-hmm.
board. They both use the same power supply. What sets them apart is the shape of the frame and the build volume. Now, that little bit of extra aluminum to make that frame square as it is in sort of a box form is not, in my mind, worth the $150 extra they're asking for it over and above the Ender 3. You gain 50 millimeters more on your height or on your Z height in terms of build volume. So it brings the build volume from 220 to 300 as opposed to 250, like we see on the Ender 3 and the Ender 3 Pro. That $150 more is definitely not worth it. To me, we have one in the shop. I've played with it. I think that anybody who's coming into the hobby, the Ender 5 is not the printer for you. I still say the Ender 3 or the Ender 3 Pro is the far superior printer. Can the Ender 5 be turned into a Core XY? Certainly it can. It's got the
Absolutely.
bone. It's certainly got the bones to do that. But the money that you're going to put into it to turn it over into a Core XY, you might as well have just bought yourself a Core XY to begin with.
I'd fully agree.
Okay, so Chris Walker from Sydney. Hello, there's John Kitchen. I'm sure I'm missing some names. DePark88 found out something about Cura 4.0 and Cura settings guide. If you have CSG installed on 3.6, which is the Cura settings guide, and upgrade, you still have it installed on 4.0. I was not aware of that. Stephen
Yeah,
Snow
that's how they
says,
carries the plugins forward. Yeah.
see, I didn't see that in my plugin, so maybe I just missed it. Stephen Snow, Eco Mode. When you go into the bed leveling, there will be a switch there that says Eco Mode, turn it off.
I apologize for my clickety clacker, guys.
No
I
worries.
really need like a streaming keyboard.
Spartan Prop says, does the new filament have different heat settings from the old stuff? I used my same settings and got under extrusion. There is no difference in the new versus the old in terms of the heat settings. Again, I would always say to you, do a temperature tower when you are using brand new filaments. Just print that temperature tower first and foremost. And if you don't know how to do a temperature tower in Cura, we have 2 videos on it. Ben's asking, wait, have you guys actually printed with one yet? I've been using one for the past 24 hours and it prints great. I have printed with the the Ender 5. It prints fine. There's no problems with it printing. A couple of things that throw me off about the Ender 5 is it's not very appreciable in terms of dollar value. And the other thing that kind of bothers me about that printer is the way that the actual heated bed attaches to the cantilever system with 6 screws. I think that should have been a solid piece that came all the way out, and that you wouldn't have that deflection as much as you have.
Ronnie Julian asking, is edge curling always just too much bed heat? No, no, no. It's
No.
not. Usually it's bed leveling for me.
Yeah, it's usually bed leveling for me as well, but it can be a heat issue. If it is too hot, it's going to cool faster because of the ambient temperature around it. So if you've got your bed set to 80 for a material that only requires 50 or 60, turn down that bed heat and you'll notice that curling should go away.
And just remember, if you go back to PLA fundamentals, if you primarily print with PLA, you can print it without a heated bed.
That's
It's just
true.
the heating helps with adhesion sometimes. You can try printing with it completely off and see what happens because if I recall, I thought the big push was PLA, you want to cool it as rapidly as possible, versus ABS, it needs to cool slower and so forth.
Correct. Yeah. That's why a lot of times
So
they'll say on a box 0 to 60 degrees. You can actually print PLA with no heat on the bed, and it should stick just fine, depending on how close you are to your bed. If you're a little bit too far away, it won't stick at all. I always like a little bit of heat there to make sure it grabs on. Paul Cumber, CNC engravers, are they okay to have? CNC engravers are fine. I'm still not sure about the laser engravers that you can add to your 3D printer. I'm still on the fence about that. I was supposed to be getting one as a test, and it never showed up. So at 60 here, going ABL, ASP. Ronnie Julian, ABL. Which ABL are you going to be using? I'd like to know. Mark Hart, can you put an easy ABL on a CRX? Yes, you can. Is it easy to explain on this live stream? No, it's not. But you can do it, yes. Would I put an easy ABL on it? Probably not, because that is an inductive sensor. I believe it's inductive. Yes, it is inductive. There's two types of sensors. There's inductive and capacitive. Capacitive senses for metal, inductive senses for surface. So I hope I got that right. Sometimes I get those swapped around.
You're relatively close. If anyone ever wants an industrial control definition of touchless sensors, I'll put a video out, but it's boring.
Yeah. I would recommend you go with BL Touch.
Yeah, absolutely BL Touch. Though, BL Touch and Meltzy boards, I think we should talk about this because not a lot of people have been talking about this.
That's
true.
The
new recommendation coming down from Paris at BL Touch to desolder the filtering capacitors on Meltzy boards when using the BL Touch.
Correct.
So I can tell you I've been talking a lot with Paris on a couple different issues that I've had with BL Touches and things like power regulation and so forth. And this recommendation came out rather recently and rather silently that if you have a Creality board, there's a filtering capacitor on that line, and especially with the version 3 BL Touch, it will result, keeping that capacitor on there will result in a reduced repeatability score when using the BL Touches, which is the primary reason you buy it. So yeah. I'm hoping, again, to do a video. I think we got some spare 1.1.3 boards lying around that we can do some repeatability tests with and without it.
2 different versions of the BL Touch in my office.
Oh, yeah, you got the V3s finally.
Yes, we have the V3s. So
nice.
What am I missing here? BL Touch with MKS Gen L. What plug and play, save versus add should I get? Ronnie Julian. BL Touch with an MKS Gen L board is correct. If you're looking to go silent stepping, I would go with the 2208 TMC drivers, which you can buy online or you can get from Spool 3D. And then I would go for my extruder, and this is something I've done on my own personal, so I know that it works, is I would, for the extruder, use the LRV7.
Hang on.
8729.
Is it the 8729? Yeah. I think so, that sounds right.
Plug and play drivers. You want the TMC 8802 or 2208s and the LV 8729s. I hope I got that right. I think I did.
Yeah, just look up LRV. I'll give you guys the right ones because I don't want to lead you in the wrong way on those, especially with these numbers getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
LRVs. Let's see. No results.
Not LRV. They're just LVs.
Is it just LV? Oh, you know what? I'm mixing up with Large, I think. So the LV 8729 by MKS or Large or whoever you care.
Yeah.
They're like $9 to $10 at Spool 3D. It's not bad. David Clark wants to know how my Frankenstein Ender 3 is looking. It's sitting beside me. I've been gone for 2 weeks, so the BL Touch light's on, if that counts. But I have a I have a major decision to make on the design for this, and it's going to be do I keep it on one carriage and make the gantry for each extruder adjustable, or do I set up the new fancier designs like what Flashforge and them are using, where the cartridge one nozzle stays on the left, one stays on the right, and then they shuffle in and out. So still deciding on that. The obvious answer is the second one's going to be better, but that's quite a re-engineering. So
Gotcha. Okay, David Clark. Brian, okay, we saw that one. I need to go to Mark Hart. I was thinking about the Easy ABL for my CRX because I've heard too many complaints about the new BL Touch plastic tips breaking off. Okay, the only reason a plastic tip breaks off is if it is catching on something. And if it is catching on a print, it means that it was installed incorrectly. So you want to make sure that pin, when it is in its stowed position, is at least 0.8 millimeter or 0.8 of a millimeter up above the tip of that nozzle. If you don't do that, you are certainly going to catch on things and then break them off. The plus side of that is that they are easy to replace.
and that's the sole reason why they changed away from the metal pin, is because the metal pin, when they use that, it would actually snap the internal electronics. So it's the difference between a like 30-cent plug, or I can't remember what the price is. Do you?
Yeah.
Do you remember what they go for? It's
I
like
don't.
$5-6
I don't
bucks
remember what
versus
they
replacing
were,
the whole
but
thing. Yeah.
those pins are readily available, and I would always buy a couple extra anyway. I've still got one of the old versions that has a metal pin in it, and they're not nearly as serviceable. When those break, you basically pitch them in the garbage, $50 gone, and then you have to go and buy a new one. At least if the plastic pin breaks, you can buy a new plastic pin for, a few bucks and then just reinstall it, and you're not losing your BL Touch.
Yeah, the only issue I've encountered with it is it does get a little soft. So if you're probing a bed often that's like 60 degrees, it may bend a little bit, but you got to just keep an eye on it and straighten it out yourself.
There you go.
That's
What
at least
else
my
we got
experience.
going on? Let's talk about some things coming up here. We have a brand new episode coming out on Tuesday. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I'm not in it.
Oh, you actually managed to edit that?
No, I'm not finished editing it, but I will finish editing this week.
It's not going to happen, guys. It's not going to happen.
It's going up on Tuesday.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and then we have another episode where I'm back with my broken hand. And we've got another episode coming out on Thursday. So we are getting back to our regular schedule of releasing our videos on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And we will try and stay on that as best we can. We're moving our recording days to Saturday. I've just become, what's the word I want to use? I've just become too busy at the shop to record during the week unless I stay late at night. So I feel that if I can go in on a Saturday or a Sunday and record, the shop is closed, so I've pretty much got the run of the place, and I can just churn out a bunch of episodes in one day and then just edit them and have a back catalog that I can rely on for when stupid stuff like this happens. The class went amazingly well, and I'm looking forward to doing another one. That's from Spartan Props. For anybody that doesn't know, Spartan Props, who is our moderator tonight, that's Jess. I'm spoiling her identity, but that is Jess.
She has too many accounts.
Has anyone 3D printed the pins for the BL Touch? Not as far as I'm aware of, because there is a metal piece that sits right at the very top of those pins. So probably not. Dan F, or Danny F, welcome, sir. I'm sure I missed a few people welcoming them. Louis Vuitton?
We try.
I'm not sure what's going on there. But yes, we're thinking about doing another class. I'm wondering, Brian, and we're going to
Mhm.
put it to our audience tonight. Would you guys be interested in me doing a live stream class on some advanced techniques? If so, put a hell yes in the chat there. I want to remind you that we have super chat turned on tonight. And Johnny Gardner, who couldn't be with us, he had to leave. Thank you very much for the donation. That is going to go into our IRF fund. And any money that you would like to donate here on our live streams, all that goes into our fund to get us to different shows, to help us upgrade our equipment. The same thing with those that of you that are in here that are part of our Patreon group. I want to thank you guys for that, because all of that goes into the same pot, and it allows us to basically get you some new content from new and interesting places. And it also helps to upgrade our equipment when we need to. So
Yeah, because I keep experimenting with cheap stuff and it doesn't work out. Actually, this new camera worked out okay.
this new camera looks great. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's not. It's actually not too bad because I went as I traveled the nation here. I stopped by Eden Camera in
Mm-hmm.
Ontario actually, and I mentioned about streaming stuff, and he looks at me and says, "Just buy the Black Magic." I'm like, I don't want to buy the Black Magic.
You know, it's funny. I do. We have a Blackmagic television studio. It's an older version, but it still works just fine. It's an HD. Um, but it
But the
can be a
Pocket
little
Cinema,
finicky.
is what they're recommending now, right?
Oh
So
yeah, I love that Pocket Cinema camera, man. I'd love to
it's
replace all the
adorable.
cameras
It's
in our
just
studio with it. But at
yeah, but
what
that's
is it, $1,400 Canadian?
actually, you know what? No, the body's down to 1749.
Oh, well, that's still more than
That's
$1,400.
oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know why I heard for like 4,200 or something.
there you
I'm.
go.
It's been a long week, guys.
Oh, Spartan Props is throwing us some love. We look great. Thank you.
Oh,
We love you too. You're going to be on camera more, by the way, Spartan Props.
da da da.
Brian, no flashing battery light.
Yes, yeah. It's hang on. It's sitting right here in front of me. It's just not hooked up.
There you go.
She's an old beaut. This new one, you know what? It surprised me for consumer handycam. For those of you who are interested, it's a Sony CX405. It's actually a bit older, but it has clean HDMI out, and you charge it via USB. So I just have it constantly plugged into a USB, and it works great. Just reading what Julie's saying. I use a TiVo Little Monster. Print size is great. Bed leveling was great. Salmon skin was noticeable. Neat effect on prints. I like your thinking because everyone complains about salmon skinning, but it can produce some really cool results sometimes.
It can. Salmon skinning, depending on what you're printing, will depend on whether you want it or not. Again, what I recommend, if you're using the latest version of Cura, slow down the jerk. Um, what we've realized is that by default, jerk is set way too high for a lot of
Mm-hmm.
printers. And I found the most comfortable jerk setting for at least Creality line and even Wanhao is 5, in between 5 and 10. Because what jerk does, let's say this is our bed and our head moving across. So I'll use my fingers that. As that jerk, the higher that jerk number is, the slower it ramps down. The lower the number, the faster it comes to a stop. So you would think that the faster it comes to a stop would mean that you're going to see artifacting. But the reverse is true. The faster it comes to a stop, the less artifacting it is, because jerk also is going to ramp up. So that's where you're going
Mm-hmm.
to see that salmon skinning on both sides, especially of a domed piece. If you're printing it, this way with the sort of a bulge out on your piece, You'll see that salmon skidding more noticeably if your jerk is much higher, as well as your acceleration is too high, or your movement speed is too high. Comfortably, some people print at 80 millimeters per second. Comfortably, I've seen people print at over 100 millimeters per second. But for me, the best results is 40 millimeters per second. On any of my machines, that's all I ever print at is 40 millimeters per second, and it gives me a nice, clean, fine print.
And with that, bear in mind that everyone's with Marlin 2.0, there is a better option than jerk. So as soon as we get the numbers sorted out, we'll be talking about that too, because the jerk algorithm is actually flawed, and the new style is set to actually address that much better. But the challenge with jerk right now is the lower you set that number, the more it's actually going to try and ramp into the next movement, and so you might start getting rounded edges on the lowest side of things.
Right. Yes. Absolutely. CRX 405. Can the macro focus enough to magnify record soldering? That I couldn't tell you.
I haven't tried it yet, but let's go and do this. So here is a part right up close. That's about a few inches away, and I know it's got a wicked zoom on this, so you guys can get the nice up close and personal Brian look. Oh geez, my skin needs work. Oh geez, let's.
I'm gonna go right to your shot. Sorry, Brian. There we go.
It's pretty good, all things considered. Yes, I definitely need a deep facial pore cleaning.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I play with it first day. It's great. And what you guys are not seeing here, where's that other camera here? I've literally got like 7 Logitech cameras on my desk because I bought a whole bunch of them. I didn't know what to do with them. Let me cut to my other one. Where is it here? So it's nice because I got the YouTube chat in front of me. I got the video, all that. And then I actually have the viewfinder up close here too, so I can get the preview. But the HDMI coming out of it is really clean. So yeah, I like it. It's a great little camera. It really surprised me. I got it for $80 Canadian, so I can't say no. Jess?
I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole.
The moment I said that, I'm just like, someone's gonna say something. Between that and my comments with Ron of this, when the print feels good on the face, you know, it's gonna. I'm gaining a reputation quick.
Boy, are you ever. So anybody that's following me on Patreon or following what we're doing on Patreon, we are still working on this guy. We're going to get back to painting him this week now that I can hold a brush again. I think I can hold a brush again. Let's see. Yep, I can hold a brush again. We're going to be using that. We're going to be doing some more painting on this. I'll be recording some more. We've got another episode that's in the can that is ready to go out. And we're going to continue going on Superman here. Now, we only have about 3 hours into this, so we're probably looking at about another 10, maybe 11 hours just to finish the skin. And then we'll do the hair and we'll do the costume. And then
so what's
we'll
the plan
do
with this one afterwards?
This one is probably going to sit in my office on the set for a while. And then we might, I don't know, we might either do a draw for it, or would you guys like me to give this away? Put a hell yes in the comments if you'd like to see me give that away at some point in the future.
I think, though, that one's going to have to be a Patreon exclusive giveaway.
Might be, yeah. If you want to follow my painting tutorials on Patreon, you have to get in at the $5 level. If you're not in at the $5 level, then you won't see those videos. You'll only get to see the blog posts if you're below the $5 level. So, what do I prefer, Danny's asking. Do I prefer airbrush or regular paintbrush? Well, funny you should ask that. because I use both. In this tutorial, although he looks like he might be airbrushed, in fact, that is all done by hand with a brush. None of that has been airbrushed. Here's another good example. We've got Leia. Let's use Leia. Oh, I've got to stretch.
I don't think we've had a Star Wars update lately, have we?
No, here's Leia. This is going out to Richard Taylor along with Luke and Han, and we are getting really close to finishing her up. We just have her hair, all of her jewelry to do, all the metal work around her bra. We got to fix up the bra a little bit. We got a little bit of work to do on the straps as well. But other than that, Leia has come along quite good. Now I'm many people. Anybody seen the Doom Patrol? You'll know what I mean. I've got probably a good 20 hours just in her for painting. And then we've got Han and Luke. We just have to finish Han's shirt and vest, and then Han is pretty much done. I'm really happy with the way that those skin tones came out. They look really good. It's probably not picking up very well on camera, but it does look really good. And Luke, we've got his hair to finish. We have his eyes to finish. And of course, we have his tunic to finish. And then they will all be done. And all three of these will be going to Richard Taylor. He won these some time ago, but I have not yet finished them. So, Richard Taylor, they are coming your way. And he knows he's here in town, so he can come and pick them up when they're ready. But Superman, so we got one hell yes, two hell yeses for a giveaway on Superman. So, looks like only 2 people want us to give it away. So I don't know. Might have to do something different.
Well, we would have sold stuff if we went to the Calgary Expo.
What was that?
I said we would have sold stuff if we went to the Calgary Expo, but
yeah, we won't talk about that anymore. Did you say how you painted Leia? Danny F is asking me. I painted her all by hand. This is a completely done by hand piece. All 3 of the pieces are painted by hand. No airbrushing went into any of these. And the reason is because I want to increase my skill again using a brush. And using a brush allows me to get into places and do things that I can't do with an airbrush. Yes, an airbrush is great. I have one right here. And the one that I use is the Iwata Eclipse HPCS. This is my favorite brush by far. It is a double action brush. This one just got a really good cleaning not too long ago, and I really love it. So that's the one I use. But none of these pieces behind me have had an airbrush hit them at all. So. David Clark, that is a great idea. He thinks we should carry out an auction live on the show, and I think that would be a really good stream to do. What do you think, Brian?
That would be interesting.
That would be.
Actually, you know what, because I could imagine governing that would be an absolute nightmare. But what if we, as the show goes on, people gain entries through Super Chat?
That would be really cool. That would definitely be a way to do it. And we'd have to set a minimum limit on it because we would have to put some of that money, at least 50% of that money, if not all of it, into a charity. What do you say, Brian?
I fully agree.
So that's something we're going to look at here in the very near future when he's done. You guys will see pictures of him. I'll put them up on Facebook as well. Kind of cool, like the model of Princess Auto. Oh, you like the model at Princess Auto. Okay. Danny F, there's a model at Princess Auto? What's her name? Is she single?
David Clark was just
started about 2 hours ago. I win. Stephen Snow, would the G29 code be affecting auto bed leveling on the CR10S Pro? Only lays down the first layer on one of 3 prints. That shouldn't be affecting the prints unless you've redone the G29 and not saved it. Then you might be having a problem. Danny says, hell yes on charity.
Yeah. Yeah, Stephen, if you have, I can't vouch for the Creality stock firmware, but on the newer ones, you can enable a test called M48 repeatability test. And for anyone who has an ABL sensor, I recommend turning that feature on and trying it once in a while, because a lot of my issues were because I could not repeat the same test every single time, and that led me in the right direction. So I
Now we got to ask
definitely
about my
recommend doing that.
paintbrushes. Let's talk a little bit about my
Yeah.
paintbrushes. What do I use? Well, I'll tell you which ones I use a lot, because I can throw them away if they get all crappy. And that is these round plaid 44 218. This is a number 1. This comes in a 6 or 8 pack from Walmart. They're pretty inexpensive brushes. I don't spend a lot of money on brushes anymore. I do have some really good brushes though, like the Zen line from Royal and Lang Nickel. I really like these. I also have one of their miniature, or I have a couple of their miniature Majestics. Really like these brushes as well. The only time I use the higher end brushes though is when I want to do detail, like eyes or makeup effects on my other pieces. I also use some of these Royals, which are a decent brush. They're not too expensive. I have some Model Master brushes. So I have a variety of brushes that I use over and over and over and over again. I think there's even some old Citadels in here. What is this one? This is another, I can't even read the name on that, but this is another fairly high quality brush. If you go to a good art store, you can get good brushes. But if you're going to buy brushes for painting your 3D prints, let me recommend that you start with brushes that aren't overly expensive. I would go to Walmart and buy myself a good pack of brushes that have anywhere from a 00 all the way through to a number 8. And you can usually find them for around $7 to $10. And then make an investment into 2 products that I use all the time. And the reason that I use them is because they really help to preserve your brushes. First and foremost is the Masters Brush Cleaner. You can find this on Amazon as well. This is number 101. And what it looks like, old guys like me will know this right away. It looks like soap that we used to use to shave with when we used soap and brush.
Oh yeah.
And it really cleans your brushes well. Then after I've done a cleaning with these, a deep cleaning with these, to get out any residue that may be up in the ferrule of the brush that I wasn't able to get out, I will use Winston and Newton's brush cleaner and restorer. I basically just dip the brush in here after I've cleaned it off, and then I'll wipe that onto a paper towel just to get any final residue out. And then I always store my brushes. Let me just move this. This is something you guys are going to find funny. I store my brushes in a 3D printed brush caddy.
Nice.
So this, I found this on Thingiverse. I don't remember the number. I printed it out in ABS just to give it some strength. And I got to tell you, this thing holds all my brushes just great, and they're all right at a moment's notice. Look at that. There's an old Citadel brush right there. I don't use that one very often. And of course, I've got my knife in here as well when I need it. But yeah, print yourself off a brush stand. Don't spend $10 and go and buy one. Print yourself off one.
Use a $700 printer and $5 of filament. You'll
Not
somehow
even
save
$5
money.
worth of filament. Now I have
No,
one
it's
of
cheap.
these stupid jars. This is a Games Workshop paint jar. It's supposed to hold your brushes, but you know what? It doesn't hold any other brushes than the ones that you can buy from Games Workshop. So it's a piece of junk, and they're very expensive. These are about $20 a pop.
If only there was some technology to design that similar thing for pennies on the dollar with mason jars.
Yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, it's called 3D printing.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I know I'm going to get this again. What paints do you use? So let's quickly talk about that.
Every week we cover it.
Every week, anytime I mention painting, everybody asks me what I use. If you're just starting out in painting, get yourself a Liquitex Basics Titanium White, a Liquitex Basics Mars Black. I know you're laughing at this. Get yourself a Liquitex Basics Natural Gray. Well, Rich, don't you just make your own gray with black and white? No, I like natural gray. And I'll darken it and lighten it with white or black. Okay, the next two that you're going to buy is raw sienna and burnt sienna. Again, guess what? They're Liquitex Basics. Then I have a red oxide, which I use quite often. Then I have a raw and burnt umber. Oh yeah, they're Liquitex Basics as well. And those are my base paints, along with a primary red, a primary blue, and a primary yellow. Those are the paints that I use most often when I'm painting pieces. And why, you're going to ask, do you do that? Well, because with raw sienna and burnt sienna and a little bit of white, I can make any shade of Caucasian or Asian flesh. The burnt and raw siennas, or burnt and raw umbers, will make any sort of darker skin tone, African American, that kind of stuff. The red oxide I use around eyes a little bit. I'll lighten that usually with a little bit of white. Now below in front of me, I have many other paints. I also use the FW inks. And if you follow any of my series on Patreon coming up, you're going to see how I use these. I also use some of the Model Masters acrylics from time to time, depending on the color if I can't find it. And I will use Tamiya acrylics from time to time. But the bulk of the paint that I use for most of my fine detail work are the Vallejo Model color paints. I really like these paints. They go a long way, and they're not that expensive. But the key to getting them to mix properly is buy yourself some ball bearings. Put them inside the jar. The top will come off. You put them inside the jar, and then you can agitate the pigments and the other stuff that is in there so you can get it mixed really well.
That's a really clever idea. I never thought of that.
All right, let me see what else we got. How much are they a tube? The Liquitex Basics here in Canada are about $5.99 a tube. And these are 4 US ounces, fluid ounces. There's a lot of paint here.
And I think they carry them in Michael's, right? And they're always given like 45% off coupon.
Yeah.
You can just go pick one up on a Sunday and have it. You know, it takes a long time for you to go through one of those, eh?
It sure does.
A lot of paint in there. Yeah.
I've had that batch of paint for roughly about 5 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't use very much of it. What else we got going on here? Tonight's show is brought to you by Liquitex. No, Liquitex doesn't sponsor me. I actually paid for all of those. I I think that's pretty much it. I like D&D better. Okay. Fairly cheap
Yeah,
here.
that's I'm just saying. Just yeah, the paints are cheap. Buying high quality paints does not equal high quality paint job. There's still some talent there.
Yeah. I just saw a posting here in our YouTube comments on one of our videos. I don't get time a lot to answer everybody's questions on YouTube. I really don't. If I spent all day in front of YouTube, I would get nothing done. And when I come home at night, I try and do some painting when I come home for our Patreon subscribers, and I will answer questions as I can get to them, but I don't, sometimes I just don't get to them right away. Sometimes Brian gets to them because he has access to our account. Yeah, I do apologize. If you put a question on Facebook or on YouTube on one of the videos, if I haven't got to it, I do apologize, but sometimes I just don't have time to get to them. It's usually easier to get a hold of me through Facebook and ask me a direct question there. 3D Printing PA just got notified that we're live. Well, better late than never, I guess. Steel ball bearings from where in YYC? Actually, I ordered mine off of Amazon, Mark Baker.
Yeah, they're
There's
cheap
Victor
enough.
Novak. Hello, sir.
Yeah, no, there's nothing new on my side. Just getting my printers spun up, I guess. They've been down for a while, so.
I've got two things to do to my CR10s. One, I have to change the thermistor in, and the other one, I have to change my filament sensor. So I will be doing that tomorrow on my day off. See, Victor is saying you got a nice beard there, Brian, because I shaved mine off.
Yeah, I went to site, so it's fluffing up. It's starting to grow a bit.
The reason I shaved mine is I was starting to look like a homeless man.
I don't know. As I said, when you went live the other day, I thought you released a video from like 9 months ago. So,
And you know that beard, I only started growing that beard at the end of January. So it wasn't very long. So I've had that February, March, April, yeah, for about 3 months. So yeah. So we are 2 minutes out from ending today's show. Brian, is there anything you want to add to today?
no, nothing really.
Before
Actually,
we
this
wrap
was
up?
just kind of very spontaneous for me to jump on. So, I don't have a lot going on here. I'm just looking out the window behind me at the blizzard outside and shaking
Don't
my
say
head.
that. I'm closing my eyes. I'm
Nah.
not looking out the window.
Okay, stay in the
Okay.
basement.
All right, I will.
But you know what? I will give the fans a thought here because you keep on talking about all this printing stuff. Who wants to see Richard with a curly wig doing a Bob Ross style episode? Because I know I want to see that. I don't know why, but I really do.
You've been bugging me about that for months.
I know, because it just seems so perfect. You got the black backdrop behind you.
That's
We
true.
could make it happen.
We'll put some happy little rosé on his cheeks. Happy little rosé. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us this evening. We will have a new episode coming out on Monday for our painting tutorials on Patreon. If you're not a Patreon member, go over there and check us out, patreon.com/thefirstlayer. Diecast really wants to see that. Yes, hell yes. Mark Baker wants to see that. Chris Riley, did you just join us?
He just joined us.
Chris, you're always late.
So the solution is
Wow.
we move the show to 8 p.m. Mountain, right? But tell
Right,
everyone it's
yeah.
7, but we start at 8. Yeah. We'll
Chris.
have a tailgate party in the YouTube chat.
We may start doing an after show. We're working on something that you guys will enjoy as an after show.
Even Jerry's just joining now. What's going on?
I don't know.
Oh, YouTube.
Oh, YouTube.
7
anyway,
p.m. Mountain. That's a fixed time
7
every
p.m. Mountain, that
Sun-
would be 9 p.m. Eastern,
Eastern.
6
6 p.m.
p.m.
Pacific.
Pacific,
Pacific.
And
8 plus 8, 4 a.m. UK.
4
I
a.m.
don't know.
UK. What else? What is that Central Time? That's only an hour difference from us. That would be 8 a.m. Central.
Just want to give a shout out, Ronnie Julian. Thanks, got me soldering again. That's awesome, man. Everyone should know how to
Cool.
solder.
If you don't know about Chris's basement, go check it out. Chris Riley is a great guy. He's got some great tutorials over there. It's fun to watch him. And one of these days, I'm going into his basement to get those cymbals off the wall because I need them in my studio. Because I used to be a drummer, but I'm not anymore.
Oh,
So, Chris, I'm coming for you.
you know, we should 3D print a really terrible drum set.
We should. Oh, speaking of which, speaking of printing something cool, Ben Brady printed some light diffusers for lights in his home, and we're going to talk about that on an upcoming episode when I can get Ben online and we can have Ben as a guest, and we'll talk about that on an upcoming episode. Soldering sucks.
Boo, boo. Get a
I
good,
like soldering.
get a good
I find it
Hako.
very relaxing.
It is until you huff the fumes for like a summer.
Yeah,
But
yeah, exactly. All right,
Yeah.
guys, so that's the end of our show. Brian, thanks for joining us tonight, and we will see
Thanks,
you guys
Richard.
next Saturday at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, and 6 p.m. Pacific. I think I got it.
Here we go. Look at that.
Okay, until next time, my friends, remember that the first layer is always your foundation to a great print. Have yourselves a great weekend, and we'll see you on Tuesday.
Take care, guys.